Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, good morning maybe, if you're over on Australia or New Zealand. But thanks for being here, guys. Nice to see you all. It is Super Bowl Sunday, so if you have your team in the Super Bowl, good luck tonight. I'm actually a Giants fan, and Giants suck at the moment, so I haven't been paying too much attention. Anyway, we're here. Thanks for being here as well. And just before we get started, if you do want to submit a list for a future episode, what you need to do is you want to go to Google, you want to search for Blood Angels Commander, YouTube. You want to click on, maybe you need to actually type Blood Angels. You want to click on, I guess, any of my videos, or probably this link at the very top, the actual YouTube channel. You want to hit over onto the community tab, and then in the latest community post here, you want to just hit comment, and you want to just paste your list in here. You'll see other people have done the same. There's a list here, etc., etc. And I'll reply to you telling you that I've got your list and that you're in the queue. The queue right now is quite long. Chapter Approved has come out. There's been a lot of submissions from members. There's a lot of submissions from non-members. So I think the member queue at the moment is about 3 or 4 weeks. I think the non-member queue at the moment is about 3 or 4 months. So if you want to review quickly, think about becoming a member. For the moment, that's what, every time there's new rules, the queue gets big and then it sort of dwindles a little bit. So the queue right now is big. Julian says, when I submit a list again, will you be okay with a bonus 30k list? I'm not really okay with 30k list. I know nothing about the rules of 30k, dude. I do not even have any of I don't even have any of the Horus Heresy books. The only thing I've got is the data sheets that are available for free on Wikipedia. Technically, they're probably not legally to be free on Wikipedia, but they are. You just go to Wikipedia and they're there. So 30k lists, no, I'm not going to be any use for that, sorry. 40k is the only thing I play, and 40k usually I play 100% from a competitive standpoint. People ask me about Crusade, people ask me about fluffy lists. It's not something I spend a lot of time on. I honestly don't have the time at the moment with the 2 kids. But maybe in the future I would like to do a Crusade and stuff, right? But right now I just don't. So I'm focused 100% on competitive play. Who you got in? Let's get it. We've got Dutster, we've got Will Probert, and we've got Lodesen this week. And then next week we have... let me just click lists. Like I said, there's a big queue. Next week we've got Steel Rain and Jonesy, and then I'll be grabbing one of the non-members in there. At the moment I'm doing 2 members, 1 non-member every week. And good afternoon, Lorenzo. Thanks for being here. Okay, so, yeah, let's get straight into this first list. I know some of you guys are probably going to want to catch the Super Bowl, and I think that probably starts in about an hour and a half, give or take. So we'll try and wrap it up. If someone wants to tell me when the Super Bowl starts, then I'll try and wrap up for then or something similar. Okay, so Dutster, first list today. I updated this list to fit land speeders into my list. Thank you for all and any help. Also, the app I made this one on doesn't have the +10 for the Volkites from Chapter Approved. Okay, so he saved 10 points here. I assume that is for the 10 points for Chapter Approved. I'm just going to move my chat on the screen so it's easier for me to see. 1 second. I don't see chat on the top left like you guys see it, unfortunately. There we go. Okay. This is the real fucking Super Bowl. I don't know what that means, Rezio. But okay. Alright, so we have Captain on a Bike, Artisan of War, Gift of Foresight, Adamantium Mantle, Angel's Sacrifice here over... Sorry, Angel's Artifice over Armor Indomitus, Infernal Pistol, Chapter Master, Power Fist again over a Thunderhammer, and I guess this guy's 155 points. I think it's worth the 5 points for the Thunderhammer. 2 damage weapons aren't so effective anymore in 9th edition. And I also think Armor Indomitus is like super good on this character. Like, it's arguably the best defensible relic that we have. Better than Angel's Artifice. Because that one phase of 3-up Invulnerable save can make or break the character surviving with the free rerolls. So you can basically put him on a 3-up Invulnerable save and have 2 rerolls on the save, which means he can just about survive through anything. Anytime you use that, he will survive through just about anything unless you roll horribly, especially with a 5-up Feel No Pain from Adamantium Mantle. So I think Angel's Artifice is the wrong choice. I used to use it, but I've moved on to Armor Indomitus. He does have a Chaplain on a bike here, so I was thinking maybe the Chaplain has Armor Indomitus, but looking at this Chaplain, he just has the Canticle of Hate, and you know, he doesn't have any relics or litanies or anything. He's just here to give you those 2 inches additional to your charge. And then we got the Sanguinary Priest with the Chief Apothecary and the Selfless Healer, and again, he's got no extra relics, so I guess he's keeping the number of CP spent on the list reasonably low. We've got a battalion attachment. It says -3 here. Maybe, I think probably it's not added the 12 that you should have get. So we'll keep a tally on how many he spent. He spent 2 so far. Greetings, Camille. How you doing? Oh, it's 1 hour and 45 to the Super Bowl. Then perfect. The stream will be finished about then. Oh, right, my stream is the hype over the Super Bowl? Yeah, I wish. Yeah, thanks, Rizio. If my stream got a tenth of the viewers of the Super Bowl and I got YouTube ad revenue, I'd never have to work again in my life, I imagine. Apparently this year's Super Bowl halftime ads are all going to be for cryptocurrency. So let's see if that goes true. Do you know what? I've got some money in cryptocurrency, so if there's tons of Super Bowl ads for cryptocurrency and it bumps up the value of crypto, then maybe that's not a bad thing. Dirty Wizard thought he'd jump on and say hi. Wife is out with the best friend and I'm stuck babysitting, so I'll catch up tomorrow. No problem, Dirty Wizard. I do a lot. I mean, I spent the whole weekend babysitting. I know the pain. Alright, troop-wise, we get 2 squads of Assault Intercessors and 1 squad of Incursors, and they are just default, no special weapons in here. I think it's fine. I prefer to see 2 squads of Incursors. Assault Intercessors are okay. I don't think they're great at holding backfield objective. I think they're better, like, contesting midfield with the chainsword attacks, or being reserved and doing cheap units to do, like, retrieve Octarius data. But I mean, they're okay. As I say, they're okay. I don't hate Assault Intercessors by any means. I just think Incursors have more flexibility in 9th. Assault Intercessors don't typically kill that much. If you ever run into anything that's more than toughness 4, you're not really going to be reliably doing much damage anyway. So, what relic would you use for your secondary support characters with no invuns? Relics for characters with no invuns? I mean, it really depends on what's going to synergize with your list, right, Julian? Like, for example, I run a character. I was running the Chief Librarian with a jump pack who doesn't have an invun, and I was running him with Psychic Mastery, and I think I've run him with Quake Bolts as well. I also run a Tech Marine who doesn't have an invun with Soul Warden and Quake Bolts. So Quake Bolts I think is really good to give more damage output for your for just about any army in your any unit in your army can benefit from Quake Bolts. It doesn't require like core or any nonsense like that, right? So Quake Bolts is great, and then Soul Warden is also great. In our meta where there's lots of mortal wounds going around, a well-placed character with Soul Warden giving like a lot of units a 5-up shrug against mortals is really good as well. Okay, he has Death Company, and it's a 5-man with 1 Thunderhammer, and it's 140 points. I think he has submitted this using the old points values. I need to find my book. I was looking for it. I've put it somewhere. You know, I made a funny joke about that points book. How I never use that damn points book. And I've put it somewhere behind my desk in this pile of all the millions of games that I've got back here. The book that actually has points changes. The book that I said I would never use. Apparently I do use it. Oh, god damn it. Where did I even put it? Somebody tell me, what is the points of a Death Company with a jump pack now? Because it used to be 25 points per model, right? So 5 of them, which is this squad, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with a Thunderhammer. That used to be 140, so now it's 130? Yeah, I think that's right? Where the heck did I put that book? I thought I just put it in on one of these shelves somewhere, but I just do not see it now. I'm sure it's 130 points. 23 for that, I believe. Yeah, that's what I thought. So this is wrong because this is 15 plus 22. Yeah, so these are 23. So these are actually, because the jump pack costs 3 per model, these are 20 now, right? And this Thunderhammer guy is 34? Or sorry, he's still 20 and the Thunderhammer's 15, right? 130 confirmed. Thank you, Call Me Craven. Yeah, I made a joke about that book. I was like, I hate these point cost books because I never use them. And then the one time I actually need it. Anyway, so I think this Death Company at 130 is... Do you know what, that's actually really... Like, I like the Death Company a lot more. Those 2 points per model are really nice. You know, like, if you think about it, you used to run, like, 5 Death Company with bolters and chainswords for 125. So you basically get the Thunderhammer now just for 5 points, if you think of it that way. Which is really nice. Like, I really like a Death Company with 2 Thunderhammers for 145, because that's just gone up 5 points from the old one with the single hammer. I think that's really good. So I don't dislike this Death Company at all, and the 5-man keeps it... The 5-man keeps it as a 1 CP Foil and Fury, which I think is really good as well. I have a lot of painting going on at the moment, but I think once I'm done, I'm probably going to go back to Death Company and paint a bunch of them with Infernal Pistols and Thunderhammers. Obviously, Thunderhammer models can't take Infernal Pistols, so there'll be some with Infernal Pistols and some with Thunderhammers, but I think that's the legitimately good model, good unit to have now. If I disappear at any point in the stream, I'm just moving my daughter from one bed to the other, so... Chapter approved 2022 is free on Warhammer community downloads, French version only. Well, that's useful, I suppose, if you read French. Okay, we then have a Relic Contemptor, who is 145 points, and he has the Dreadnought melee weapon and a Twin Volkite covering, which has gone up 10, so that kind of balances out the Death Company going down 10 in this list. I would say get rid of the combat weapon and get the Chain Fist. The Chain Fist is just quite a bit superior. I want to give an explanation for that, so I'm just going to pull up the Relic Contemptor real quick. The combat weapon gets 2 times strength minus 3 damage. The Chain Fist gets 2 times strength minus 4, 2d3 damage. 2d3 averages a 4, so you get 1 more AP and you get an average of 1 more damage, and then against vehicles you basically do double damage, and it costs just 5 points. The Chain Fist, I think... If you're going to try and run this guy into combat, I think the Chain Fist is well worth the 5 points that you need to be able to do that. I was painting my own Chain Fist the other night. I guess I had the regular melee weapon, but I think the Chain Fist is really important. Okay, we then have a squad of Sanguinary Guard, and it's 5 Sanguinary Guard, all with axes. We have another squad of Sanguinary Guard, and it's 5 Sanguinary Guard, all with axes. And just before I move past these... I don't like Sanguinary Guard with 5s. I ran Sanguinary Guard in 6s recently. I actually ran them in 5. Like, I was in a tournament and I felt like I was running an 8, and I tried to change my list so I could run 2 squads. I was running a single squad of 8. I tried to change my list so I could run 2 squads of 5, and I felt like 2 squads of 5 weren't good enough. I changed it to 2 squads of 6, and I honestly think 2 squads of 6 aren't good enough. There's too much -1 damage shit in the meta right now. Every second army you run into, it's -1 damage. So I think Sanguinary Guard need to be in 7s now. 7s to 9s. 6 does not cut it anymore. The game I had against Custodes, I think I want to say I ran 2 6s, and they just bounced off the Custode bikes. Killed like 2 bikes or something, a bike and a half. It was absolutely pathetic. So 6s don't cover this for me anymore. 5s definitely don't. And I also think you should mix your swords and axes, because it's very hard to plan before the game. Oh, I'm going to put all my swords on the left flank because that's the side of the board that has less invulnerable saves, so the -3 is going to be better. I don't think you can plan like that in deployment. I think it's too complicated. I think you're better mixing the squad together. Working on building a 5-man squad of Death Company with 1 Thunderhammer and 1 Handflamer. I mean, sounds cool. The Handflamer is definitely a less top tier pick. I don't think I run Handflamers at all, but the Thunderhammer is good. Vanguard Veterans, we got 5 here, and it's all Lightning Claws. 5 of them, which is fine. We have an Inceptor squad of Plasmas. And you know what? We were talking at Greetings Highland Phoenix. I was talking to a few people about Custodes, especially their bikes, and I was trying to work out, like, how do we kill Custodi bikes effectively? Because they're 2-up save, and they're toughness 5 with 5 wounds, and they were so difficult to kill. And I was actually saying, do you know what? A squad of Inceptors would actually be really good against Custodi bikes, because every shot from the Plasmas is going to wound on 2s or 3s, and they're going to push them onto their invulnerable save really easily, and you can play Descent of the Angels so that the Inceptors get, like, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s if you bring them in next to a captain or something. So, as much as I've been complaining Custodi bikes are strong, I think that Inceptors with Plasmas may actually be a good way to deal with those Custode bikes. It's probably because you need weight of fire. We always talk about that. Like, you need weight of fire to kill Custodes, and I think Inceptors with Plasmas is a good choice there. +4 sucks ass, and D6 +6 is too much. What were you asking, DTM? What models were you talking about that I missed? Then we have 2 land speeders. This squad has 2 with both multi-meltas. We have another squad that has 1 with with a single multi-melta, obviously, and then we have the whirlwind for the suppression fire, etc., etc. So interesting. All right, let me just tot this up in my head real quick. We've got the captain, the chaplain, the priest, 2 assault intercessors and cursors, death company, 1 relic contemptor, 2 smaller sanguinary guards, 2 smaller sanguinary guard, 1 vanguard vets. All 3 jump units are 5-man. I guess we should mention, and then land speeders and inceptors. I think the thing that I would do straight away in this list, like, I like most of it, but I think I would have to drop 1 of the land speeders and add another model to both the sanguinary guard. I dislike them as a 5-man squad. I kind of dislike them as a 6 as well, but 5 feels way too small. I would really like to see 2 squads of incursors, because that gives you more threat early game and more mobility. The single dread on its own, I mean, it's not going to do so much work, but I mean, it could be reserved, it could come in. I would try and change this for the chain fist if you can. Plasmas are good. I think we're right. Duster didn't put this, so it says -3 CP, but he didn't put it as a battalion, so he actually has 9 CP in this list. He paid 1 for Angel's Exemplar and 1 for the Chief Librarian upgrade and 1 for the Relic Contemptor. So I think my thought is I would take another relic somewhere in this list. I would be tempted to take a Quake Bolt, maybe on your Primaris Chaplain on the bike. Or I would maybe be tempted to put Armor Indomitus on that Primaris Chaplain on the bike if you're sold on keeping Angel's Artifice, so that both of your characters are a little bit more survivable. Icon of the Angel could also work if you're using your Primaris Chaplain to give that +2 to charge. Rerolling all charges within 6 would be good as well. The guy that was at the top Custodes player, LVO, says he doesn't even like the bikes. It's crazy. I mean, the bikes are good if you can afford to play Transhuman on them all the time, Reziel. If you have the CP to play Transhuman on those bikes all the time, then they're nightmarish to deal with, because essentially if you're Transhuman them all the time, that really counters Blood Angel's +1 to wound, and because they're always saving on a 4-up and they've got 5 wounds, essentially you have to do 10 damage to kill a single bike and you only wound on 4s. It's hard to do 10 damage to something when you only wound on 4s, I think. Which essentially mean, yeah, like, if you look at Sanguinary Guard and you only wound on 4s, that means you need 20 hits. So if you were running like a... If I said that wrong. You only wound on 4s. So you need... Yeah, I think I've said that wrong. If I was trying to kill a single bike, I need to do 10 damage to it. So I need 1 Sanguinary Guard to hit 5 times and wound 5 times. Yeah, so you basically need to make 10 successful hits, because you're only going to wound half the time. So basically, like, let's say you hit a squad of 5 bikes. So each bike, to kill it, you're going to need 10 successful hits with the Sanguinary Guard. Now, let's assume your Sanguinary Guard just hit on 3s, as they normally do. So if you're running Sanguinary Guard into the bikes and you're hitting on 3s, you are going to need, and it's a squad of 5 bikes, you're going to need 75 attacks to kill the bikes in a single turn. And obviously you can buff like the chance to hit and you can do rerolls on them, but he can cancel that out at any point as well with a CP, I believe it is, 1 CP to turn off rerolls. So how many Sanguinary Guard do you need to run to make 75 hits in a turn, right? You would need to be running 15 Sanguinary Guard with hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. You would need that, and that's only going to kill 5 bikes. So in this situation, I imagine if you were running what is it, like 2 squads of 5 Sanguinary Guard, if both squads of Sanguinary Guard get their charge, you don't have any rerolls and you don't have any pluses to hit in that situation, you're only going to kill maybe 2 or 3 bikes. And then, yeah, you're right as well, DTM. Actually, the math I've said is even worse, because the bikes have 5 wounds, so you actually need to hit them 3 times, not 2.5 times. Yeah, so you need even more. You need about 100 Sanguinary Guard attacks, or maybe like 90 Sanguinary Guard attacks to kill 5 bikes. Like, Calidus Assassin, I don't even think helps you that much. I mean, he helps you a little bit in that it burns a few more CP, but I mean, it's very easy for Custodes to start with 12 or more CP with Trajan in their list. They can start with like 13 CP easily enough, and then every CP they spend, they get it back on a 5. And I forget the AP on the Calidus Assassin's weapon. The one that ignores invulnerable saves, but like it's not going to be reliable against those bikes because it's only going to be user strength, so you're only going to wound on 5s. So you get 5 attacks hitting on 2s, wounding on 5s, and they're still going to get a save on a 5. Plus, I mean, if the Calidus Assassin kills 1 bike, that's actually going to be really good, but I think on average he's probably going to... I mean, you could just math it, right? So like a Calidus Assassin charging in with a phase sword gets 5 attacks, so that's 0.833 hits. He only wounds on 5, so that's only that. And then they save on 5s. So yeah, Calidus Assassin on average does 2 damage to the bikes. I don't know, does Calidus Assassin have any way to get more hits or more to the wound roll? I don't think so. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, those bikes are no joke. If somebody says the bikes suck, fair enough, but I think the bikes are no joke. Are Voidsman at Arms Imperial Agents for Blood Angels? Yeah, Voidsman at Arms would be valid, Julian. We don't often see Voidsman at Arms, but I was thinking of making some myself, just so that... the nice thing about Voidsmans for Arms is you could make like a 48-point squad, right? And then they could 100% do retrieve Nachman data. Calidus is hurting the CP and they need it. Yeah, I mean, Trajan Valoris just gives them really reliable CP. By the way, preparing tiramisu for the wife for tomorrow, got TLS1 red alignment kernel left for Halloween, thinking of going for blood chocolate for the blood Primarch. Okay, Lorenzo, that sounds fun. Yeah, so, I mean, this list isn't bad. The Sanguinary Guard are concerned at their size. I feel like I like the Inceptors. I like a single Redemptor. I kind of like the troops. The HQs are fine. My main concern is this list is the size of the Sangori Guard. I think you have to drop a land speeder and I'd either make the Vanguard Veterans like a 7 and get a couple of Thunderhammers in there, or I'd make both Sangori Guards 6s. I don't like them much as 6s, but they'd be better. 2 Sangori Guards as 6s and an Infernal Pistol in one of them, and switch up the weapons. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a bad list. Relic-wise, I think a Quake Bolt somewhere could be nice. You know, Vanguard Veterans would benefit from Quake Bolts, so would the Dreadnought in combat, so would the Death Company. I also think maybe another, if you don't fancy Quake Bolts, you could take another Warlord trait, like you could take Rites of War or something on the Chaplain on a bike, make everything around him OBSEC. Lets you go aggressive with him, flip objectives with your jump units. Something like that. There's a few options. I know last week somebody said to me on stream, like, you should try starting games with Blood Angels with like 10 CP, but like, I actually think that's the wrong approach. I think we've got enough good things that you want to use CP on before the game. I don't know how many CP I'm starting on for tomorrow night, but like, I think it's worth spending some CP before the game, 100%. I also like running Calidus in several other matches. Yeah, don't get me wrong, Assassins are good. I like Assassins too. I just don't like running 4 characters, and I find it's very easy to get 3 other good characters for Blood Angels. I mean, there's so many, even with the characters that they took away this week, there's still plenty of good characters you can get for Blood Angels. I'm going to score Duckster's list. OBSEC, I'm going to say it's like an 8. Anti-Horde is reasonable at shooting. You know, you could do a bit of shooting with Inceptors, you could do a little bit with the Whirlwind. We're going to give it like an 8. High damage monster and vehicle. We don't have that many 3 damage weapons in this list. We have Infernal Pistol and this Captain. We have 1 Thunderhammer here. We have the combat weapon and the Dreadnought. That gives us 3. And then we've got 3 multi-meltas, so it's 6. So I think we're kind of lower. And I've changed my list recently. I think my list now included, last time I checked, I think I had 17 3 damage or more weapons on my list. And in the current meta, I think if you run into an army that is -1 damage and you only have 6 weapons in your army that can do more than 2 damage, that's going to be really fucking tough to deal with. In fact, like, I don't even know if you could win that, because I've played that with like 10 or 11 3 damage or more weapons, and I've really fucking struggled. So if you only have 6, like, just completely neuters your close combat effectiveness. I mean, the one thing that it doesn't neuter is Lightning Claws. We don't have enough Lightning Claws on this list to really counter that. You know, you just got 8. Sorry, you just got 5 Lightning Claw, guys. Mobility overall is pretty good. I don't have any concerns on mobility. I'm going to say 8.5. The only way it could be more mobile, I guess, is if you drop the Dreadnought and you got another squad of Incursors or something like that. So maybe that should be a 9 for mobility. It's very high. We have the ability to fight last. We don't have any denies. We do have some units for actions. I guess the 3 troop choices. So units for actions is okay. 3 damage weapons is low. Command points is good. And mortal wound protection. We have a bit from the priest. You know, we got a 6-up shrug with the priest as well. So I don't know, maybe 8.5. No denies. Lack of 3 damage weapons. A bit of protection from mortal wounds. I think that's fair to say. So 42 out of 50. I mean, it's not a bad score. In a Vanguard veteran score with 4 Lightning Claws and 4 Thunder Thunders, what should the Sergeant have? He should have the Thunderhammer for sure. You want the extra attack on the Thunderhammer over a Lightning Claw, 100%. yeah, it's as simple as that. I mean, there's one extra attack, so why would you want the extra? You know, when that extra attack hits, you want it to do 3 damage rather than 1. A lightning claw with re-rolling wounds is similar in reliability, I guess, to a thunderhammer with. A thunderhammer is going to wound most things when you charge on a 2. Maybe a 3 against tough armor. The lightning claw is going to wound on like a 4, so it's going to be about the same. So at that point, it's just down to the hit roll. So yeah, I mean, you could argue the lightning claw. I was going to say, you could actually math that out. So you get 1 attack, you hit on 3, and then let's just say you hit an armor, so you wound 75% of the time. So you're hitting toughness 8 armor. So your lightning claw on average to toughness 8 armor gives you 0.49 damage. A thunderhammer will give you you're hitting 0.5% of the time, but then you're wounding on 3s, but then you're doing 3 damage. That should be times 3. So the number would be 1. So on average, a thunderhammer on the sergeant for that extra attack will do on average of 1 damage, whereas a lightning claw will do an average of a half damage. They both have the same AP, so it makes no difference, right? Should I put Quakes on the Vanguard Veteran squad? I think it's very good. Vanguard Veterans with a +1 to hit is really strong. This is a very simple upgrade, but it's a very useful upgrade. If you can put that on another character as well that has like a better ballistic skill as well, that can be useful too. I run it on my Tech Marine, but I think it's very effective on Eliminators as well, if you want to run Eliminators. Okay, so Dutster's score isn't bad. It's a good all-round list. It's very focused on jump attack. Overall, I like it, but I think that lack of 3 damage weapons would probably be my main concern in that list, and the size of the squads of the Sangre Guard. Right now, 5s and 6s on Sangre Guard doesn't feel big enough. If you are enjoying today's video or you get some value, guys, at some point consider please hitting that like button so this video can spread to other people. It's very much appreciated. Okay, let's have a look at William Probert's list next. And I live in, I guess maybe that's Hong Kong, so I can't join the Sunday show live, but I like to watch them later in the week. I'm a fairly new player, started in 8th, finally started to play more regularly. I've bought boxes set up to expand cost effectively, plus 1 or 2 extras. So apart from the list, so apart from the units in the list, I have 10 Hellblasters, the Start Collecting box with the Ball Predator, the Blood Angels and Dark Angels Combat Patrol, and the Indomitus box. So apart from the question, is this listed any good? How could I improve it from what I have, and what should I buy next? I have met Fiston in the mail. I should add, or I guess he could add. Thank you for any advice. Okay, so 1997 points, and I assume that -1 CP is also wrong. Yes, so it's going to be a battalion, so he's probably got 11 CP. Okay, instead of high damage weapons, you go Chaplain with +1 to wound and +1 to hit on ranged, and play a couple of 10-man intercessors with assault bolts double firing. Intercessors with assault auto bolt rifles, I think is what you're talking about. They actually don't do that much damage. I did a video on that, Lorenzo, where I mathed out how much damage those intercessors do. And, Blood Angels aren't a shooting army. They don't do a lot of damage in shooting. Even with the double shooting, you'd be better just getting in combat. So, a Chaplain with +1 to wound and +1 to hit on ranged. I mean, sure, it's nice, but I can't see it making up for a bunch of missing Thunderhammers or a bunch of extra Meltaguns or something like that, right? I just can't see it. Auto bolt rifles, or bolt rifles in general, in my opinion, are average at best. Troops are troops. Troops are troops for a reason. Elites are elites because they are elite. So, I mean, think of it that way, I guess. Alright, so all these paid is 1 CP for Angel's Ascendant. Blood Angel specific question for you. Can Eliminator Squad still move, shoot, move if the Sergeant fires Quake bolts for his carbine? Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't see any reason that he couldn't. The move, shoot, move, the ruling on that is just as long as they shoot, they can move again. If they've got no target to shoot, so like say you moved them into the open and someone else killed the only target they could shoot at, they can't move again. They need to have shot. But the Quake Bolt rule is just you just make a single hit roll for your weapon, and if you hit, then you then the enemy are classed as felled, and anything that charges them or anything that fights them in combat gets +1 to hit. I guess that's why some people run them on Eliminators. Makes sense. Tech Marine's also very good for Quake Bolts. I've been running Tech Marine with Quake Bolts for a while now, and I'm probably going to continue. You know, if you think about it, like, I use it often on like targets that like my dreadnoughts are going to charge and stuff, and getting your dreadnoughts to hit on 2s rather than 3s in close combat can actually be kind of huge. Yeah, I mean, I have that unit at DTM. I literally built it and got it ready. But yeah, I mean, I guess the Tech Marine also, like, if you're going to run double Dreadnought like I do, Tech Marine, but maybe in the future, if vehicles really start taking a back burner because of all the Tau stuff and nonsense like that, then maybe we'll see more people run Eliminators like that. But I think that is a good way to run the Eliminators, and I think they're 85 points. And I mean, it's 2 las cannons hitting on 2s. I mean, they're flat 3 damage las cannons. They're only strength 8. That's their one weakness. But I would rather a strength 8 las cannon with 3 damage than a strength 9 one with D6, if that makes sense. Just because I always think D6 damage, whenever you need damage, you roll a fucking 1. So, I like Eliminators with the Sergeant with the Quake Bolts. And yeah, I mean, if you use it right, it can be very powerful. Not as powerful as it was, right, for like engaging all fronts and stuff, but it's still good. Alright, so we've got Primaris Chaplain, Litany of Faith and Canticle of Hate. He's the Master of Sanctity. If he is the Master of Sanctity, then he can take 1 more Litany. Oh no, Litany of Faith is the Mortal Wound Protection one, my bad, sorry. So, Mortal Wound Protection and +2 to charge. We've got the Primaris Chapter Master with Speed of the Primarch, Gift of Foresight, and then he has that Mastercrafted Power Sword and Relic Shield. I think Gift of Foresight is a strange choice. It doesn't affect combat all that much. Especially not on like a Chapter Master with just like a 2 damage Power Sword. I don't see that it's going to be a huge amount of value, Will. I'm trying to think what would be better here, but like the Relic Shield gives him a 4-up and a 5-up shrug, if I remember correctly. So maybe he just needs something like Rites of War or Imperium Sword. Rites of War, I think, is the one that like I'm looking at right now is going to be better than this. But let's see what else is in this list. Primaris Librarian with Shield of Sanguinius and Wings, and Chief Librarian. Upgrading him to Chief Librarian gives you 1 more power as well, so you can have 1 more power here. And I guess like 6 months ago, maybe even more, a year ago, this is how everybody ran Librarians, right? Shield of Sanguinius and Wings of Sanguinius, because Wings lets you move a bit further. Shield of Sanguinius, I guess, will let you shield 1 unit and give it a 5-up shrug. I'd probably get Unleash Rage as your 3rd power. I really think the strength, if you're going to go the Sanguinary Discipline, I think one of the biggest strengths of the Sanguinary Discipline is Unleash Rage, giving a big unit exploding 6s when they hit. So that's what I would pick for my 3rd power. I also think if you're going the Chief Librarian route, you probably want to take the Warlord trait, Psychic Mastery, just to make your powers that bit more reliable. But I mean, like, if you're going Master of Sanctity on the Chaplain, kind of think you also want to go Wise Orator there, and again make your litanies more powerful or more reliable. Both those things are big deals for me. Blood Boil is good because you don't have to target the closest enemy, and it can do 3 mortal wounds. But I think if you think about Unleash Rage, right? if you lose Unleash Rage on like a, let's say, I was talking earlier, like a 7-man squad of Sangori Guards, so you've got 35 attacks. If you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, then we already know, I know off the top of my head that it's a 97% chance to hit if you hit on 2s, rerolling 1s. So if you got 35 attacks on average with the Sangori Guard, you end up with 34 hits. You basically divide that by 6, right? So that would be how many 6s you roll. So with Unleash Rage, you're basically saying, like, with a big squad of Sangori Guard, you're going to proc, like, between probably, like, 5 and 6 additional attacks. They are 2 damage attacks. So if you run into the right target that doesn't have any -1 damage, that's an extra 12 damage, potentially. I mean, that's better than a couple of mortal wounds, right? So Unleash Rage is something that's really good. I guess maybe he's thinking of moving out Mephiston for the Primaris Librarian, because he said he had Meph on order. I've been running Meph. I've been running him with Wings, Unleash Rage, and Blood Boil. I'm going to run him again tomorrow night. I actually don't hate Meph at 140 points. I didn't like him at 155 points, but last week he was literally my MVP against Tau. So we'll see if he's going to be MVP tomorrow night against the Necrons. I doubt it, but I think it's worth giving him another try out. I'll run Meph a couple of times. Alright, we've got Assault Intercessors, Infiltrators, and Incursors, and this is fine. I actually like the Helix Gauntlet on the Infiltrators. It kind of makes your backfield like super secure. This squad of Intercessors at 114 points is basically a 6-man squad, and I'd honestly, if I were you here, Will, I would buy a box of, I guess they're called Primaris Infiltrators, and make 2 squads of Incursors, because Incursors are better than both these squads, I think. I did a video comparing the maths of the Intercessors, the Assault Intercessors, and the Incursors. And Incursors shoot a little bit less than the Assault Intercessors, and they do a little bit less damage than melee than they do a little bit less shooting than Intercessors, they do a little bit less damage than Assault Intercessors, so basically places them in the middle, whereas Intercessors shoot best, Assault Intercessors melee best, Incursors in the middle, but Incursors get just more utility. Forward deploy from outflank, not outflank, concealed position, sorry. They can redeploy with guerrilla tactics, they can use smoke screen, they can use transhuman. I guess regular troops can use transhuman as well, but I just think Incursors are so good. If you don't have them, it seems like a... And you didn't really mention that you had Incursors up here, so if you're trying to do this on a budget, Incursors are probably one of the next best choices. Mathematically, it's easy to think of exploding 6s as +1 to hit. For example, 6 attacks hitting on 3s generates 5 hits instead of 4, and 6 attacks hitting on 2s would hit 6 times instead of 5. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, exploding 6s, I guess just every 6 attacks is +1 to hit, really. Is the equivalent of, like, +1, right? I think they come in the Dark Angels Combat Patrol with the Dreadnought. Yeah, maybe you do get a squad of Incursors in there, or maybe it was Infiltrators. Dark Angels Combat Patrol? I've never actually bought the Dark Angels Combat Patrol. I bought all my bits individually. I probably have everything in this box, but I probably bought them all individually. No, they just look like Intercessors. Yeah. So they've changed how this looks, but I think Incursors, I don't know, I think they're the best troop choice. I usually always run 2 of them. If I had more points in my list, I'd probably run 3 of them. Okay, we've got a 5-man squad of Aggressors with Auto Bolt Storm and Frag Storm launchers, and Aggressors, I guess, have fallen out of the meta a little bit. Their Power Fists suffer from the -1 damage that we talk about. Their Bolters aren't that strong anymore. The Flamers are probably the better option. I have 6 Aggressors built just like this, and they kind of warm my shelf now all through 9th edition. They're okay. I wouldn't say they're brilliant. Blade Guard Veteran, it's a 3-man squad at 105, and I find... I've run Blade Guard Veterans in multiple configurations. I've run them as 3s, 4s, and 5s, and I think 4s and 5s are generally better. 3 is not that many. You know, like, 3 guys. I think they get like 13 attacks on the charge with Savage Echoes. I think it's 4-3-3 or something. Maybe it's more, but I'm going to check that. Blade Guard. Yeah, 4-3-3. Okay, so it's slightly more. I guess 13 attacks in turn 2, 16 attacks in turn 3. Still not a huge amount of attacks. I think Blade Guard just work better in 4s and 5s. And 4s and 5s makes them a very efficient unit to transhume in, whereas 3, don't know if you want to spend 1 CP trying to save a 3-man squad of Blade Guard. I also think Blade Guard are a unit that really benefit from Quake Bolts. Either the Sergeant having the Quake Bolt, or something else around them able to do the Quake Bolts. I just don't think 3 is the right size the right size unit for these guys. We have a Death Company with 5-man, Thunderhammer, Plasma Pistols, Infernal Pistols. And I think these guys will have actually gone down since he submitted this list. Is this right? What did we say? 5 with a Thunderhammer was 140 points now. So a Plasma Pistol and Power Fist is 150, and Infernal Pistol. So I think this would be 160 points now. The Plasma Pistol feels wasted to me, honestly. I don't like Plasma Pistols because I find they're too unreliable to fire on high power. So you're basically just paying for a Strength 7 pistol with like -3 and it's 1 damage. Same as Mephiston. I mean, Mephiston runs a Plasma Pistol and it's like you're never going to fire it on high power in Mephiston, so it's just a Strength 7 pistol with -3 and always does 1 damage. Like for a Blood Angels army that wants to be up close in combat and more personal, like I just think the Infernal's better, much better. The potential of 8 damage, and yeah, you don't do 8 damage very often, but I mean, how often do you do anything close to 8 damage in a game with a Plasma Pistol? Like, never. Like, a Plasma Pistol, you maybe kill like 2 models in a game. Yeah. Plasma Pistols are fine, I just don't really rate them. 5-man Death Company is good, 1 CP, Forlorn Fury. We then have a Redemptor Dreadnought, Macroplasma and Onslaught, Sanguinary Ancient, and a Sanguinary Guard. And I don't think you have enough jump units in this list to justify the Ancient. So, and the main reason to take the Ancient is to run the Wrath of Baal Relic and give all your other jump units +2 to movement. But because you only have a 5-man Death Company and you only have a 4-man Sanguinary Guard, to me that doesn't justify this Ancient at all. I mean, I guess the Inceptors would get +2 to their movement, but I mean, they don't really need it with a 10-inch move and 18-inch plasmas. You also have the Eradicators with the Melt Rifles, and then you have an Impulsor, which you've paid a bunch of points on for the Impulsor, holy jeez. Stormbolters, Missile Array, Heavy Stubbers. I find Impulsors, even with the Shield Dome, die very, very quickly. I don't know how I feel about putting Missile Arrays on them. They're only toughness 7, they're only like 11 wounds. What does the Missile Array do again? It's basically a single crack missile, D3 anti-air missiles, or a frag missile. It's so expensive at 20 points. Like it's fucking crazy. Like this is just so overcosted. I would never spend 20 points on this. I mean, I'd spend the 15 on the Shield Dome, but I feel like hitting the 15 on the Shield Dome is like clutching at a straw, saying like, maybe my Impulsor will survive a turn and get across the battlefield. And I mean, what have you got in the Impulsor? I imagine you've got the Blade Guard. Aggressors can't go in Impulsors, right? Because they are Gravis? Aggressors are Gravis. Yeah, I'm sure they're Gravis. They're toughness 5, so they must be Gravis. Yeah, so aggressors can't go in Impulsors either. I think if you're going to run the Impulsor, you would need to try and make it cheaper, like closer to 100 points. and then consider the Shield Dome. And if you're going to do that, you would need more Blade Guard veterans. And then I'd put, I guess, like your Primaris Chapter Master in the Impulsor or something with the Blade Guard veterans. Yeah, the only other thing is it's D6 plus 2 if you're at half range DTM. So if you are within 3 inches, you get plus 2 to your damage with the Infernal Pistol. But 3 inches basically means you're on top of them. Yeah, so as a general list, it's not terrible, but the synergies are lacking a bit, I guess. Like, I think I would try and push more towards jump units from where you are, especially if you want to run the Ancient. Like, at the moment, you have a choice. The first thing I would do in this list is probably drop the Ancient, because there's not enough jump units for the Ancient to be with. And I also like my HQ to either be mobile. So, like, I have my HQ on bikes or with jump packs. I think that's really important because most of our strength for Blood Angels is going to come from, like, Sanguinary Guard are arguably very, very strong. Death Company with Thunderhammers are again very, very strong, very mobile, and if the HQs can't keep up with those to give them their buffs and their rerolls and stuff like that, then you're basically giving up a lot of power. Like Sanguinary Guard hitting on 3s is 66% chance to hit. If you're next to your Chapter Master, or you're next to your Warlord, they go up to 97% chance to hit, because you get the +1 for being near the Warlord. You get the reroll ones if he's like a captain or something, right? So you take a squad like the Sanguinary Guard and you change them from 66% chance to hit to 97% chance to hit. So that's like a 31% increase in chance to hit, which essentially is going to increase their damage by 31%, right? If you actually look at it relatively, like 66 being 100, you're actually increasing their damage by 33%. So you're actually increasing their damage by 50%. So it's a big deal. And I mean, I guess in this list, I think the first thing you probably want to do is get a character with a jump pack, a firstborn character with a jump pack that can be mobile, a Chapter Master, or the Chaplain on the bike or something. I think you need some Incursors. Also have a big question mark around the Aggressors. They're so slow. They're not that strong anymore because of all the -1 damage stuff kicking around. The Aggressors have 2 Power Fists. I don't think Aggressors need the -1 to hit with the Power Fists. It's like they're friggin' hands. Like, why do they need -1 to hit? But that's what they have. So the Aggressors have me a question mark. The Sanguinary Ancient also has a question mark because typically, like, you see the last list we looked at had like 4 5-man units of jump stuff. If you'd had a Sanguinary Ancient in that list, I would have been saying like, I'm not sure the Sanguinary Ancient is valuable enough because you've only got 20 jump models. So in this list, you only get 9 jump models. I wouldn't class the Inceptors as jump models. I'll be back in just 1 second. Sorry about that. Would it be worth getting a Chaplain with a jump pack to keep up with the fast units? Yeah, I mean, either that, something with the jump pack. I know you can put characters inside the Impulsor, but the problem is if you take them out of the Impulsor in the same turn, they're not going to be able to charge, right? So you lose, because the Impulsor can move, then you can disembark in the turn it moved, and then you can advance. So you can get quite far forward out of an Impulsor, but you can't ever charge, which is a little which is a little annoying, I guess. So I think this list you need to lean into a direction, and I said in the last list, squads of Sangry Guard with squads of Sangry Guard with less than 7 models are not effective. I mean, I guess you could drop the Ancient and just have, and you could pay 3 more Sangry Guard. That's like 96 points. So you could have 7-man Sangry Guard, no Ancient. That might be okay. Aggressors to hold middle might be okay. Yeah, I mean, they're just not survivable aggressors, I find. I used to use the Sangry Priest to try and make aggressors survivable, you know, like a 6-man aggressor squad moving to the middle. There's a lot of shots for Overwatch and stuff, and you know, resurrecting them with like the Sangry Priest. It's not bad, but the 2 damage isn't that strong anymore. Like, I guess Power Fist's 2 damage is just, it's hard, I think, in the current meta. I just think they're so slow as well. 5 inches just feel so slow. Like, I have Terminators which I teleport into the board, and like once they're down on the board, they just feel so slow. So I always pay the points for the teleport homer. Aggressors were cool when they used to be able to advance and not take the shooting penalty, but they got rid of that. If you disembark normally out of an impulsor, you can charge, but it wastes the impulsor distance thing. Yeah, I mean, if the impulsor hasn't moved that turn, you can charge, but it still means you're locked up for like a whole turn. Either the impulsor is just moving forward, or you're doing the disembark thing and not charging, right? Yeah, so I think this list is a little bit confused, and I think you need to lean into one of them. I think you want aggressors. Sorry, I think you want incursors. I think you want a lot more jump units, if that's the way you want to go. I probably want to get rid of the impulsor. I don't think they're fieldable at the moment. I've tried multiple times to field it with keeping it cheap without the shield, putting the shield on it. It just dies. So like, it's like every game, it's impossible to hide the impulsor because it's so big. In every single game, it just gets killed in turn 1. Because unless you're going to try and hide it on the very backfield, but then what's the point? I mean, it's a transport. The idea is to try and get your units across the board, but it doesn't have enough survivability to get your units across the board. You're better off using jump units and trying to jump into concealed positions. Alright, let me do some scoring on this list. OBSEC, I think you can get, like, I think you can get 7.5. Maybe you can get an 8 because you've got the Helix Gauntlet there, but yeah, it's right in between the 2 numbers. Anti-infantry shooting is probably okay-ish. I mean, you've got Inceptors, you've got one Redemptor Dreadnought with the Onslaught and the Plasma. You do have aggressors, you do have some bolt rifles and stuff like that. It's okay, I'd say. I think it's probably an 8. Anti-monster, like, I wanted to look at 3 damage weapons in this list. So you've got the 3 Melta Rifles. You got the Dreadnought, Plasma, and Fist, that gives us 5. You got this Thunderhammer and Infernal Pistol, that gives us 7. And that's it, I think. I mean, I guess the Librarian could do a Smite or something, but yeah. So there's 7 3 damage weapons. Again, that's low, in my opinion. And there's definitely a bit of confusion in the choices here. That I think the Ancient really stands out as me. Like, you'd just be better off running the 7-man Sangry Guard. And also, we also mentioned a couple of times how Quake Bolts would be good, Rites of War would be good on this Captain probably, and I think a character with a jump pack. And also Unleash Rage on this Librarian as well. I think I'm going to do the same, 8.5 on the monster. Mobility, I'd say like a 7.5. Aggressors, the Blade Guard will be in the Oh, and Eradicators can't go in the Impulsor either, yeah, so maybe it's even a 7. Aggressors and Eradicators as your slow stuff. And then there's no Fight Last. There's a couple of denies from the Chief Librarian. There's some units for actions. There's a lack of 3 damage weapons. Starting CP is fine, but I guess we could definitely spend some more traits here. You know, we could have the Chief Librarian to make her cast better. We could have Armor Indomitus or something on this character to make him more survivable. And protection against mortal wounds, then we have none. So I guess we could also run Soul Warden on one of our characters as well. Yeah. I think that specialization is like a 7. So I think the list is just a little bit confused. Did Will say he was kind of newer though? Yeah, okay, he is finally newer. So yeah, hopefully I've given you some thoughts, Will, on how you could lean into one direction to make that list better. I find it's like having one Redemptor. Yeah, I mean, if you've got one Redemptor and one Impulsor in your list, then one of those two things is definitely going to die in turn 1, it feels like, unless you're obscuring both of them. But Impulsors are really difficult to obscure. It wasn't so bad last edition when they could fly, and you could just fly over terrain and like pop them in behind terrain and stuff. But now, since they changed all that, it just makes it much more difficult, I think, to be effective with Impulsors. And like I said, I've tried to run them 4 or 5 times now, and it's just... people are laughing at me for painting it on one of my streams. And I was like, no, I'm trying to make it work. I think it's not bad. It's just really fucking hard to make work. I guess there's too many armies that can counter it. And as much as I wanted to make it work with my Blade Guard veterans, I just couldn't get it to work. Okay. Lodesen next. Army list show submission. My take on a Blood Angels commander style list following a lot what you've discussed on the channel. Redemptors plus Blade Guard protecting a very choppy chapter ancient to take the center board. 3 Melta bikes can either be strat reserved or make a very good candidate for the tier 1 chapter master buff. Jump Captain is here for a bit more of a surgical knife 8th edition smash captain. He's very reliable, puts 15 wounds on anything without an invulnerable save. Would love to hear your thoughts. I'm aware I'm missing Psychic Presence, Action Monkeys, but I have a lot of Thousand Suns in my meta, I think he means, and really value Abhor the Witch to help fight it. Okay. Congrats on finishing the tiramisu. I've never actually made tiramisu. That's just strange because I love coffee and I love chocolate. Is it chocolate mousse or it was maybe just coffee mousse? But I feel like there's chocolate in tiramisu. Anyway, 2,000 points starting with 7 CP. Okay, Chapter Master, Gift of Foresight, Hammer of Baal, Infernal Pistol, Imperium Sword. Okay, so we got Chapter Master rerolling his charges, +1 to attacks, +1 to strength. He's got the Hammer of Baal. He's also got Gift of Foresight, so he's super reliable. Like you said, probably 15 wounds. I think, if I remember correctly, if you're going to run this Imperium Sword, and you're going to run Gift of Foresight, you might actually be better just mastercrafting a Thunderhammer. It's a tough call. I feel like I did this in a video. Hammer of Baal versus a Thunderhammer that's mastercrafted. Because Gift of Foresight letting you reroll that one hit kind of makes up for the fact that the mastercrafted hammer has, hits on 3s rather than the Baal hitting on 2s. So it's interesting, but I think both ways can work. Sanguinary Priest with the Chief Apothecary, Jump Pack, Selfless Healer, and the Teeth of Terra. And I think Teeth of Terra is the right choice for the Sanguinary Priest. If you're going to give him a relic, make him a little bit killy. This gives him 8 attacks. I believe that they're strength 5 with, -2 and 2 damage. So this gives you a killy priest. is the Hammer of Baal minus 3 AP. It is Highland Phoenix, but like so many things it feels like in this edition, especially like last week against Tau, you know, everything's saving on a 2+, and everything's got a 4 in Vun save, so why do you need any more than minus 2 AP, you know, like against the Tau, and unless you've got Null Zone early in the game, then I guess it doesn't really help you. So yeah, I mean, if you think about like jumping into like other characters, like Demon Princes, for example, you know, they got a 3-up, 5-up. So again, Hammer of Baal doesn't actually help you anymore over Thunderhammer that's mastercrafted. So it's an interesting toss-up. I think both are good. For troops, we got 2 Assault Intercessors and 1 Incursor, and I would love it if it was 2 Incursors and 1 Assault Intercessor, but sometimes it has to be. We then have the Blade Guard Veteran Squad, and it's 3-man again with the Sergeant with the Volkite Pistol. I don't think the Volkite Pistol on the Sergeant here is that useful. I guess it's one way to spend 5 points, but you know, I think I'd probably try and spend the 5 points elsewhere if I had it. I mean, I could take 5 points off there and put it towards the second squad of Incursors. Now I just need 5 more points. We've got the Company Champion, who has a Blade of Triumph. That's that Strength +3, -3, 3 damage sword. He also has Martial Exissar, which lets core within 6 reroll charges. Might be core in characters, or it might just be core, I forget. Martial Exemplar. Core and character within 6. Okay, so rerolling charges. We've got that 7. Sorry, we've got that 3 damage, strength 7, -3, 3 damage sword, which I like. We got 2 Redemptors in here, and they've got both onslaughts and plasmas. We got, I think this is an 8-man Sanguinary Guard, 5 swords, 3 axes. We got a 5-man Vanguard Veteran with a Thunderhammer and the rest Lightning Claws, Infernal Pistol on the Sergeant as well. 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas, Inceptors with the bolters, interesting as well. Could possibly be a target for Quake Bolts or a potential Quake Bolts. I'm trying to think. It looks like it would either need to be the Inceptors or like your Blade Guard maybe that take Quake Bolts in this army, and then the Whirlwind as well. Okay, what's kind of Storm Speeder do you all recommend I make? I have just got 2. Do you know what, Wildling? I did that video this week on Storm Speeders. Oh shit. Oh, however, what I've pressed. Okay. And the thing that came up really was the Hammer Strike was the one that people were talking about. But then I believe the Thunder Strike has the ballistic skill of 2, which is strange. I don't know why this one's got better ballistic skill than the other. But some people seem to think that the Hammer Strike is 5 more points than the Hammer Strike, but has a BS of 2. Basically has 3 rockets, or like 3 crack missiles at -3, d6, and then the anti-rocket pod. Twin Icarus rocket pods. Sorry, Twin Icarus. I thought this was just Icarus rocket pods. No, it's a twin, 2d3. Not sure why this one is BS2 compared to the others. But I mean, maybe you want to build 1 Hammer Strike and 1 Thunder Strike? Higher cost anti-tank with better ballistic skill. Yeah, better ballistic skill, but swingy damage. You know, at least on this other one, it's flat 3 from its 2 missiles, and then the Melta Destroyer is d6 +2 if you get in half range. Should be pretty easy to get into half range when you've got a 16-inch move, right? So this one looks good with its ballistic skill of 2, but I guess you've got to worry about, you know, you got to worry about actually rolling your damage rolls. Alright, let me think about this for a second. The Chapter Master is pretty tasty, the Sanguinary Priest is pretty good, the Salt Intercessors and Cursors are all good, Blade Guard, Company Champion, I guess probably going center board with the Redemptors, pretty good as well. 8-man Sanguinary Guard, 5-man Vanguard Veterans with a hammer, the multi-melt attack bikes, the Inceptors, and the Whirlwind. I mean, this is a variant. Like I think he said that he was taking inspiration from one of my lists, and I mean, when I go back to the tournament I went to in September, I ran Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans like this. I ran, I think, a 7-man Sanguinary Guard. Maybe it was an 8 back then. I ran the 2 Redemptors. I ran the 3 attack bikes. I ran the Bolter Inceptors, the Whirlwind. I think I was running maybe less troops back then, but these are fine as well. And this list is starting on 7 CP, which overall is good. I guess he's got no psychic, but he purposely said he fights a lot of Thousand Suns and he didn't want that. Oh, you're welcome, Wildling, no problem. Hopefully, what are you thinking of doing with him, right? I've been thinking about getting a Storm Speeder, I just haven't got round to it yet. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's a solid list. I'm trying to think if there's any tweaks that I would do to it. I mean, I feel like the Neo Volkite on this... Yeah, I mean, I would drop the Neo Volkite pistol here for sure, and I would give a Sanguinary Guard an Infernal pistol. I think that's more valuable. Your Sanguinary Guard are often... At least once a game, surely they're in pistol range, right? And like... Yeah, because they're going to end up in combat. It's not often your opponent wipes the whole Sanguinary Guard. There's going to be one guy left. If that one guy is left in combat against a Dreadnought or something and you can put an Infernal pistol into its face while in combat, it's going to be a lot better than a random Volkite pistol maybe doing a wound here or there. Might be worth running the Tap Bikes at separate units. You know what, I normally say that, but because he's got the Sanguinary Priest there, it's actually advantageous to him to run them as a single unit so that he can resurrect the bikes. If you're not running the Priest, I would 100% what you said, Highland. I wouldn't run them as a squad of 3. I'd run them as individual units. If you have the slots and fast attack to afford that. But yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I'm going to say on this is I've moved away from 2 powerful combat units to 3 powerful combat units in my recent lists. So yeah, I think at the tournament that I went to in September, I ran Sanguinary Guard and Vanguard Veterans. And they were my only really powerful combat models. I want to check that, actually. I'm going to check it. I've got them all in a folder on Google Drive. Give me 1 second. Where did I put it? Competitive lists. Here we go. So this was my list, and where's my other list? Nope. I have all the other lists that I looked at, but of course I don't have my list anywhere. Why would I not have my list somewhere obvious? I literally have a folder called competitive lists and it doesn't have my list in it. Alright, here's one. My Blood Angels Army 4-in-1 GT. And then here's my other one, yeah. Okay, cool. So in this list I ran 7 Sanguinary Guards, 6 Vanguard Veterans, and then the Redemptors. And that was when I was running 4 characters. So I didn't like that. And that's similar to what we've got here, where I had like attack bikes and Inceptors, and I had the other attack bikes over here as well. I had Infiltrators in that list. It was Infiltrators back then I was running, not Incursors. and had 4 characters: the chaplain on the bike, the tech marine, the captain on the bike, and the librarian. And yeah, I didn't like 4 characters, so kind of tried to move away from that. And then in this tournament, I ran 3 dreadnoughts and 2 combat units. My combat units were the Sanguinary Guard and the Terminators, and I guess in a way the Blade Guard. But the problem I find with the Blade Guard is they get chewed up before they get to where they need to be because they're on foot. And I guess that's what you've got in this list as well. You've got the Blade Guard as like the 3rd unit, but they're also a very small unit. And I guess the Vanguard Vets are arguably small as well. So I've moved away from this, where it was like 3 dreadnoughts and 3 sort of average combat units. I say sort of average. Or I guess one of the combat units is average, right? Let me just look at what I'm actually running right now. This is tomorrow night. If you didn't know, we're playing Necrons tomorrow night on the channel. So you can click here and set a reminder for that if you would like to come watch Necrons tomorrow. But yeah, what am I running now? I'm running 2 dreadnoughts. I'm running 7 Sanguinary Guard. I'm running 5 Assault Terminators. And then I'm running 8 Vanguard Veterans. And I guess to do that, I've had to give up like my Inceptors. I'm thinking of changing out these Servitors because I had problems with them. But if I do change them out, I'm probably gonna run like Voidsman at Arms. And if I do that, I'm probably gonna drop the Cyclone Missile from the Redemptor. And at that point, if I drop the Cyclone Missile off the Relic Contemptor, then maybe I just run a normal Contemptor Dreadnought, like a multi-melta and a Dreadnought combat weapon. I mean, I guess I have to give up the Chain Fist, but it would save me 30 points. I could get the Voidsman at Arms. I think I want a 6-man squad of Voidsman at Arms because I think that gives me like a guaranteed retrieve Nachman data. So I'd have like 12 points left over. Do you know what? My 12 points is the cost of a Thunderhammer and a Vanguard Veteran squad. At the moment, I'm running 3 Thunderhammers, 4 Lightning Claws, and a guy with a Chainsword. So I'd probably just swap out his Chainsword, run 4 Thunderhammers, 4 Lightning Claws. Yeah, so running the small squad of Vanguard Veterans and the small squad of Blade Guard, to me, maybe feel like it'd be better to lose some of the fast attack and flesh that out a little bit, and maybe also get that second Incursor squad. But I mean, I guess these dreadnoughts have gone up 10 points. Annoyingly, I don't think they needed to go up 10 points at all. You'd still want the Chain Fist. Is the Chain Fist worth 1 CP? I guess that would be the question for my list anyway. Like, how many CP does this list start with? 8. You know, people keep asking me, they want to see me start a list with more CP, so if I didn't take the Chain Fist, I could start with 9. I mean, 9 CP sounds pretty nice. I never start games with 9 CP. And the Blast Gun. Well, yeah, I mean, it would just be a Stormbolt or something, which is kind of what I'm running at the moment anyway. Okay. So yeah, this isn't a bad list by Lodesen. I can see where the evolution has come, and it's similar to like the evolution of my lists over the last 6 months, 7 months, something like that. I started with 4 characters and like 2 dreadnoughts. I moved to 3 characters and 3 dreadnoughts, but then I've sort of gone back to the 2 dreadnoughts, 3 characters, and trying to get more heavy hitting close combat units in there with Quake Bolts. And I think that's stronger, but I mean, it's just my opinion. And obviously, I don't run the Sanguinary Priest. I know a lot of people still run the Sanguinary Priest. And I think he's good. And I guess, yeah, when you're running 2 dreadnoughts, I think you either decide to go in on keeping the dreadnoughts alive or take the priest and keep your troops alive. I think there's advantages to both. I think do you know what, things might change round now that like Tau are there and they can just shoot any dreadnought off the vehicle. Off the table. with a single shot. So maybe now tower here, things may change a bit. But then I always feel so point starved. I like the Tech Marine being 100 points. This guy being 155 points is kind of why I always struggle to fit him in, I guess. Especially with those dreadnoughts going up 10 points. Ugh, so expensive. I mean, I've had to drop one of the Redemptors from my list just to try and keep things sane. Because Redemptors at 190 points with no invulnerable save is fucking mad, if you ask me. Be interesting to know how one of those Redemptors do up against that Custodes Dreadnought that's like 170 points and is just brutal with its like 2 up ballistic skill and 6 up feel no pain and all that fucking nonsense that it has. And apparently they can I don't think they can transhuman it, but they can turn off all rerolls against it as well. It's crazy. Okay, so I mean, this is a solid list. Let's think about scoring. 2 Assault Intercessors and then Cursors. We'll give them an 8. I'd really like this. I think you get 8.5 if it was round the other way. 2 Incursors, 1 Assault Intercessors. Anti-Horde, I mean, we get the 2 Dreadnoughts, and we got a large Sanguinary Guard, and we got Inceptors, and we got a Whirlwind, and we got Attack Bikes. So Anti-Horde is probably the strongest we've seen tonight. Maybe like an 8.5. A lot of good shooting there that can pop hordes off the battlefield. 3 damage weapons. The Chapter Master has 1. The Company Champion has 1. The Dreadnoughts each have 2. That gives us 6. We've got Thunderhammer that gives us 7. We get 3 Multi-Meltas that gives us 10. So right on the cusp. I say 10 or more 3 damage weapons. I like to run. My current list, I think, had 17 3 damage or more weapons, right? Gotta go for the Super Bowl pregame. Mark, good luck. I don't know if you're supporting a team, but thanks for hanging out, and good luck if you are supporting a team tonight. Okay. Let me think. 10 3 damage weapons, 2 Redemptors, the Sanguinary Guard. I mean, it's the multi-metal attack bikes. It's overall good. It's like I think it could be a 9.5 against enemy more monsters and vehicles. Just what I said. I think the small squad of Blade Guard and the small squad of Vanguard veterans, I feel like those are 2 units that you're going to really rely on throughout the game. So if they're small squads, they start taking wounds, then it's going to make the game so much more difficult on you. Mobility-wise, the Assault Intercessors and the Blade Guard are kind of, I guess the Company Champion as well, are kind of the problem. But overall, I think mobility is very good. I'm going to say it's an 8.5. And then we have the Fight Last from the Whirlwind. We do not have denies. Units for actions, we've got 3, I guess. It would be better if it was in Cursors. 3 damage weapons, we've got 10. CP with starting, we've got 7, which is okay. About as low as I would really like to start with. And then protection against mortal wounds, we'll get the Sanguinary Priest with his bubble of feel no pain for infantry. So specialization is probably a 9. This is probably actually arguably the strongest list we've seen today. I like it. I mean, as I say, it does play on stuff that I've been doing, and obviously I've been doing like the 2 lists that I just jumped through recently. Both went 4-1 in tournaments, right? And both times it was my last game I lost. So I was playing against other people that I'd won that were also 4-0, right? And I guess, I'd like to go 5-0 in a tournament, or I'd like to actually win a damn tournament this year. I'm not going to get to go to a tournament for a while because of the 2 kids, but should get to a tournament maybe in like Q3, Q4 this year. I'd really like to win one. And do I think my Blood Angels army is there, ready to win tournaments? I'm not sure. I don't think we're there right now. Obviously, I've got 6 months to play around with things, and there is maybe a new codex coming, but right out the gate, I think the 10-point increase for Redemptors is really harsh. And I don't think any of the other drops really seem that attractive. I think the Death Company drop is legitimately good. I think people could use Death Company now over Sanguinary Guard or whatever. In a meta where there's so much -1 damage, the Death Company being 3 damage and going down in points potentially. I think, well, 3 damage or 1 damage, you know, with chainswords. I think the Death Company actually, like, it'd be really... Do you know what? Maybe that's what I need to do next week. Like, do a video where we take 8 Sanguary Guard, we smash them into some -1 damage targets, and then we smash like an 8-man Death Company into the same targets and see how much better, cheaper Death Company are now. Yeah, maybe we could do that. Apparently there's a rumour of a Space Marine 2.0 codex coming in Q2 or 3 later this year. And Death Company with Infernal Pistols. Well, I mean, we could work out the Infernal Pistol Steel Rain. The issue, I guess, is getting them in range. Do you run them? What are you running them? Infernal Pistols and Chain Swords. Send me a message on how many you're running them. I think you said before it was like 8, right? 8 Death Company with Infernal Pistols? Yeah. Okay, but I mean, that's a good list by Lodesen. Maybe needs a couple of tweaks for the new point score, but yeah, a couple of good lists this week. And yeah, I think I already said next week is going to be... Let me just check, and I'll bump up somebody from the non-member queue so we know. It's going to be, I guess, Captain Rilo. So next week is going to be Jones, 3460, Steel Rain SG, Captain Rilo. The week after that, we have Matty Talent, Michael Huff, I think, and Dan. I think that's supposed to be Daniel Lindbergh. So that's what we have in the next couple of weeks coming up. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys all watching every week. I almost never get to shoot Infernal Pistol 6 inches as hard, says Gabriel Long. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I only ever take 1 on my squads of Sanguary Guard, Gabriel, because quite often you're not in range. I think the plan with Steel Rain, I guess, is he's going to Forlorn Fury his Death Company, and then use the move, so essentially he's got like a 30-inch threat range on those Infernal Pistols in turn 1. Highland Phoenix, I usually run 3 Thunderhammers, 2 Infernal Pistols, and a PA, Rest with Chainswords. What the fuck is a PA? A Power Axe? I actually don't really rate the Power Axe for the points. You know, I guess it's sad that Death Company can't take Lightning Claws, because Lightning Claws are a lot better than Power Axes. Throw the Chaplain buff on them to make them hit better, and wound better is a good combo. Yeah, I mean, it's true as well. And, I mean, with Quake Bolts, if you can target the unit the Death Company are going after with Quake Bolts, then you can get your Thunderhammers to be hitting really reliably as well, which is also really nice. You know, if you've got Chapter Master in there and Quake Bolts, you can potentially have like Thunderhammers hitting on 3s, rerolling everything. I run Astrath, so I'm happy for them to not Forlorn Fury if it's not optimal, says Steel Rain. Yeah, of course. Astrath is probably critical if you're going to run a big Death Company, because their leadership is 7 is just so bad. Did you guys see last week that Tau have a fucking gun? You know, Andrew complains about when the Whirlwind you pay the 1 CP to suppress the enemy, and then they can't Overwatch. Tau have a fucking gun that if you make a single hit with it, it's on like a commander, it's on a crisis suit that gets like 3 shots. If you make a hit with it, it's -4 leadership to the squad. Like, he hit my Terminators with it, and I was like, wow, my Terminator squad that lost like 3 or 4 models, I think it was 4, now has -4 leadership on top of that. I was like, that's fucking crazy. It must just be like their version of Quake Bolts. I was like, wow. I said this edition leadership is not important, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've got a gun that's -4 leadership if I make a single hit against you. I'm like, what? Captain Rilo saw that you watched I'll get you next week, Captain. Sorry if you've had to wait a long time. I know that the queue has been long. We ignore any modifier to leadership. What do you mean we ignore any modifier to leadership? If you've got Astrath, you can ignore modifier leadership. I think you're thinking about we ignore any modifier to combat attrition. We don't ignore leadership. Combat attrition is different. Why aren't Space Marines immune to leadership modifiers? They used to get to reroll their leadership tests for free. That was something that Space Marines used to get, Dylan. It's now we don't get affected by combat attrition. So we still take leadership, just the combat attrition is just less, I guess. I suppose it's nice that we don't get affected by combat attrition, just it was stronger, I guess, when it was we could reroll any leadership test for free. Yeah, I feel like that was much stronger than the combat attrition thing, but yeah. I use Massive Doom and Recantation of Focus, so they're hitting on 2s. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that to make the Death Company even more reliable, I guess. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will get... If anyone whose list is coming up submitted a list a while ago, because obviously Rilo, you submitted your list probably donkeys ago, just the queue has been very big. If you want to update your list, and just feel free to post a new list on the community tab and say, I already have a list in the queue, but I'd like you to update it to this one. And don't post it on, post it as a new comment. I don't want you to go and find your old comment, because I only get notifications about new comments. So if you want to post a new comment saying, I'm already in the queue, this is my list that I would like reviewed, then I'll just update that. But please make sure you post it as a new comment. Don't go back and try and find your old one and edit it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30 UK time, so precisely about 4 hours earlier than tonight, or the time we are just now. And we've got a game up against Necrons. The stream is already live, so you can click to give you a reminder if you'd want to catch the game tomorrow night. I'm going to drink a pint of Guinness and all of you order across the pond. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl then, if you are going to be watching it. And unfortunately, I got a 2-year-old, so I will be going to bed. Maybe I'll try and catch some of it tomorrow evening. I won't, because I'm playing tomorrow evening. So maybe I'll try and catch some of it on Tuesday evening. Have a good night, guys. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate all the members and patrons as always. And I will catch up with some of you tomorrow. By the blood are we made strong then. Peace.